It started with a quiet announcement from Google that sent shockwaves through the semiconductor industry. You might have heard the headlines about Micron and SanDisk stocks tumbling, but the story behind the numbers is far more significant than a simple stock market fluctuation. This event marks a pivotal moment where software efficiency is directly challenging the hardware volume model that has driven the industry for decades. As we look at this from the perspective of an engineering manager or a tech lead, the question is not just about the stock price, but about the strategic roadmap for your own infrastructure. Should you adopt these new compression techniques immediately, or is it wiser to wait for the dust to settle? This is a decision that requires a careful cost-benefit analysis of retrofitting legacy systems versus greenfield deployment. To understand the gravity of this shift, we need to look at the technology itself without getting lost in the jargon. Imagine you are trying to fit a large amount of data into a limited amount of space. Traditionally, the solution was to simply add more physical memory chips. You buy more random access memory or solid-state drives to ensure your applications never run out of room. Google's breakthrough changes this dynamic by using artificial intelligence to compress that data while it is in use. Think of it like a suitcase that magically expands to fit more clothes without you having to buy a larger bag. The data is stored in a compressed state and decompressed instantly by the processor when needed. This means you can run the same workload on significantly less hardware. The reason this terrifies the investors at Micron and SanDisk is straightforward. Their revenue models have historically relied on selling volume. If you need more memory, you buy more chips. If a software breakthrough allows you to do more with less, the demand for physical chips drops. This creates a fear of commoditization where the value of the hardware is rapidly devalued by software efficiency. It is a classic case of a structural shift in the semiconductor industry where software-driven gains can devalue hardware inventory. The market is reacting to the possibility that the era of constant capacity expansion is coming to an end. However, this panic selling might be an overreaction. The technology is new, and the timeline for widespread adoption is not yet clear. For you as an engineering manager, this creates a complex dilemma. You are balancing the immediate benefits of efficiency against the risks of adopting immature technology. If you decide to retrofit your existing legacy systems, you are essentially renovating a house while people are still living in it. You have to integrate new compression algorithms into old code bases that were not designed with this in mind. This process is fraught with technical debt. You risk introducing latency or stability issues that could disrupt your current operations. The cost of retrofitting includes not just the engineering time, but the potential downtime and the need for extensive testing to ensure that the compression does not break critical workflows. On the other hand, you have the option of greenfield deployment. This is like building a new house on a fresh plot of land where you can design the infrastructure from the ground up to take full advantage of the new compression capabilities. If you are starting a new project or a new service line, this is the ideal time to integrate these techniques. You avoid the baggage of legacy code and can architect your system to be compression-aware from the start. The benefit here is long-term efficiency and lower hardware costs. However, you also have to wait for the standards to solidify. If you build on a technology that changes rapidly, you risk having to rewrite your foundation later. This is where the cost-benefit analysis becomes critical. You must evaluate the maturity of the compression tools. Are they production-ready, or are they still in a beta phase? Is there community support, or are you relying on a single vendor? If you choose to wait, you are betting on stability and standardization. You avoid the risk of being an early adopter who gets burned by a bug or a change in the specification. But waiting also means you continue to pay for the higher hardware costs associated with the old model. You are essentially paying a premium for the status quo while the market moves toward a more efficient future. Consider the market reaction as a signal of where the industry is heading. The stock sell-off represents a fear that the volume-based revenue model is under threat. This suggests a pivot is coming where chipmakers will need to move towards value-added services rather than pure capacity expansion. For you, this means the hardware you buy today might not be the hardware you need tomorrow. It signals a need to decouple your software strategy from the hardware procurement strategy. You should plan for a future where software efficiency drives your capacity planning more than raw gigabyte counts. There is also a divergence between short-term panic and long-term industry adaptation. Investors are currently facing a choice between selling into the fear or buying the dip based on the belief that memory demand will eventually outpace compression efficiency gains. As an engineer, you should look at this through the lens of your specific workload. If your application is memory-bound, the compression technology is a game changer. If your application is compute-bound or network-bound, the impact might be negligible. You need to profile your own systems to see where the bottleneck actually lies. In the end, the decision comes down to risk tolerance and strategic timing. If you are running a mission-critical system where stability is paramount, waiting for the technology to mature might be the safer bet. You do not want to be the first to discover a flaw in a compression algorithm that affects your core business logic. However, if you are in a competitive environment where cost efficiency is a key differentiator, adopting these techniques early could give you a significant advantage. You could offer better performance at a lower cost than your competitors who are still relying on brute force hardware expansion. This event highlights a structural shift that will define the next decade of engineering. It is no longer just about how much hardware you can buy, but how efficiently you can use what you have. The market is pricing in a worst-case scenario, but the reality is likely a gradual transition. You have the opportunity to position your team to navigate this shift effectively. Evaluate your current infrastructure, understand your specific bottlenecks, and make a decision based on your unique constraints rather than the noise of the stock market. The future belongs to those who can master the balance between software intelligence and hardware reality. Thanks for watching all the way to the end. I am a one-person team working hard to make each video better than the last. Subscribe if you found value. It is the best way to show support. Drop a comment with your biggest takeaway. See you in the next video.